So I think for me, I was thinking about this, why does neurodiversity matter? Um, I one of my first memories was of being in a doctor's office and being kind of tormented with some kind of they used to like scratch your back and put different drops on it. And they were trying to figure out if you had allergies or what was wrong with you. And really what it came down to was what then they really called someone who was hyperactive. And that, I was somewhat maybe my parents felt I was uncontrollable as a 3-year-old or 4-year-old, so there must be something wrong with me. And so I must be 'cause I'm eating the wrong food or I'm doing the wrong things or it's this, it's that. And so this doctor is just literally like doing this allergy test or something. And and I guess I felt my whole life that, I was people were trying to contain me and constrain me and stop me being me. And even though I understood that I had all this energy and I had all this kind of, impulsive behavior, I felt like I was alive and I felt like I was me. And the whole point was about stopping that. And so as I got kind of older, I kind of understood, it to be, whatever we may call it today, ADHD or whatever. And, these words have, they're about disorders or they're about disabilities or, or autistic spectrum or we frame all of these ways of thinking and being as a disorder or as a disability. And even in hard moments or my darkest moments or when I've seen the impact of impulse, you know, lack of control or whatever, I've never felt it's a disability or disorder. And it just didn't fit the norm. It wasn't about being like everybody else. And so I, I guess I always believed it in a way to be some kind of superpower that I could do things that other people couldn't do. I could really focus on things really, really deeply, and for a long period of time, I had tons of energy where I could use it over a long period of time, and I could do these things, and yet I was told forever it was a disability or a disorder, and then of course. In my life, we had children and we raised children, and when we could see that maybe these children had similar superpowers, and yet the world wanted to think of them as disabilities. And I just thought, this is crazy. This is crazy. And it kind of broke my heart in many ways, seeing people discarded or pushed left, pushed right. They aren't cookie cutter, middle of the road, vanilla people, who can just sit wonderfully in classrooms for long periods of time and pass tests, but really have nothing to say. And I know once David Worrell and I were just we were just talking and I think we'd watched a documentary and we were just like, you know what, this is this is an untapped, kind of well of of creativity, of problem solving, of of resilience, because you got to be resilient to have survived in this world being told forever you're not, you don't fit. And so you built this strength, you built this sense of overcoming, to kind of be what this thing is you want to be and do the things you want to do. And if we could tap into that, and if we could access the people who were out there in this world like that, who have overcome, who have not just been jammed as a round peg into a square hole, but still were, had things to offer and say. If we could gather that type of way of thinking and working, that we would have, some kind of competitive advantage to survive. Because as a company, we're 200 people or a bit less, and we live in between companies of 700,000 people, Accenture, 550,000 people, TCS. We live between these companies forever being under pressure. And if we could find anything that would put us above and beyond, and we thought it would be accessing the neurodiversity of the population in a way that was positive. So that's kind of in a nutshell, from being tortured as a little 3-year-old, crying with scratches on my back, and all the way through to thinking, no, actually, we have something here amongst us that can set us apart and make us special.